the question on investors' minds, why are we talking about it, is how do stocks perform during inflationary periods? And the general rule is they perform worse. That's not a very scientific answer, but in general, growth stocks do really bad during inflationary periods. Value stocks do really well relatively during inflationary periods. But let me just give you one statistic before we get into this. From 1973 through last December, during in periods where inflation was below 3%, stocks produced positive real returns, meaning adjusted for inflation, 90% of the time. If you look at periods when inflation was above 3% since 1973, that outperformance falls to 48% of 12-month periods. So it's pretty clear that stocks do worse during inflation. And that's to be expected, because people are willing to pay less of a premium for earnings. It costs generally more to produce goods during inflationary periods of time. So I don't know, how confident do you feel about your portfolios in an inflationary period? From one value investor to two growth investors.
Depends on the time frame. Over the short term, I don't know. Over the long term, I feel great. To me, when inflation came up, it depends on really the magnitude and the duration of it. If it was double-digit inflation for years and years and years, that would probably not be great for many of the stocks that I own. If it was modest inflation over a couple of years, I think that many of them would have short-term hits and short-term underperformance, but long-term, I think that they would do fine.
Yeah, my portfolio is geared toward a couple different things. E-commerce, which people are just starting to adopt and realize there's an inherent value there. Certainly, I think last mile delivery and gas and the fulfillment infrastructure and stuff is going to go up. But I think the convenience factor for e-commerce kind of outweighs and maybe may have investors willing or shoppers willing to pay more for that convenience. And the other piece is, software as a service, typically business to business kind of companies. And that's one of the companies I'm talking about today is the same deal. These are going to provide inherent value, efficiencies. It's going to enable businesses to kind of fight costs versus, cost them more money. And as well, software companies don't have to deal with supply chain, last mile delivery, those kinds of things. So computing costs have been incredibly, you look at what $1,000 bought you 10 years ago versus what it buys you today for, technology that, you can hold in your hand. It's pretty amazing the difference there.
Yeah, I would actually call technology in a way one of the most deflationary industries in the market. And we look at what you could buy a TV for at Best Buy this year and what it cost last year
yeah,
for the same type of technology.
Larry Page said the internet is the most deflationary invention in the history of mankind.
There you go. So business-wise, it's deflationary.